son Sam has been in remission for 6 years. Sam started the program when he was 3. We graduated at 5, and he is now 11.
Okay, and Michelle?
My name is Michelle. My daughter Haley has been in remission for 3 years. She started the program at 20, graduated at 23, and has been in great shape and happy as can be since she's been in remission.
Oh, Hillary, you are muted. Can I try that again? And unmute one more time. Oh, it's not working. It's odd. It's working earlier. Did you want to maybe try either working on the audio and then changing the microphone selected, or you can hop off and hop back on?
I
Okay,
see
here we
too.
go.
I'm sorry, my headphones aren't working, so I'm going to try and disconnect and then reconnect.
Sounds good.
So sorry.
And we'll just let her rejoin, and if you guys don't mind, should we start with the slides? We'll start with you, Leslie.
Great. Hi, everyone. So this is my son, Sam. As I mentioned, he started the program when he was 3. I'm not going to talk at all about the before times because everybody here is in the program and knows what it's like to be in the before time. So I'm going to just quickly go through his journey as a TIP patient and into remission. So this was Sam when he passed his pine nut challenge. Thumbs up. We were allergic to peanut, tree nut, milk, egg, sesame seed, mustard seed, and did I say sesame seed? Sesame too. And he had 13 different environmental allergies. And in the 6 years that we have been in remission, we have had not one single issue. We do everything we are told by the book. We do not stray. We are very, very compliant. And we never had a problem. We never had a problem in the program, and we never had a problem in remission. I can tell you remission is glorious and the program is so much easier once you're in remission. If any of you have toddlers in the program, I'm happy to share more about my experience dealing with a toddler. It is very challenging to do it in the program. Isotile, if you want to go to the next slide.
Sure.
Okay. So just some of my favorite moments in the program. So on the left, this is when Sam was at the point where he passed all of his food challenges, and he was in the process of doing treatment for peanut, and he could go to a birthday party and eat what all the other kids were eating. So this was make your own sundaes. It was huge. It was just a huge moment that he could actually make an ice cream sundae with the rest of the kids and eat what the other kids were eating. I used to have the frozen cupcakes, the safe food that I would pop in my bag on the way out to any birthday party, but he eats freely. And you could see he's wearing a little medic bracelet for kids. I made him sleep in that ever since his diagnosis. And at the end of the program, we got to take that off and we put it on a stomp rocket. And in our backyard, we shot it off to space. And no more. And then on the right, we went to Hershey, Pennsylvania. I'm based in LA. We went to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and he got to frolic in Chocolate World and pick out whatever he wanted. So here he picked out a toy Reese's Pieces car filled with Reese's Pieces, and it was a souvenir. And what gets me about this photo every time I look at it, this would have been my worst nightmare prior to the program. And now we eat Reese's all the time. In remission week, we've been talking so much about the program. I actually just had peanut butter, a peanut butter sandwich for lunch. So I'm like, I'm craving it. He eats peanut butter every day at breakfast. So it's part of our lives now. And I'll look at the next slide. Is there a next slide for me? Yes, there is. Okay. On the left, these are some remission pictures. So 2 summers ago, that's Sam and my nephews and my other son in the yellow. We don't have food allergies in our family, so this was like very foreign to us. But 2 summers ago, we got to send the boys on this camp bus to camp, and it was a kind of camp where you get picked up in the morning and then dropped off in the evening, and all your meals are at camp. And there's a canteen, you pick out your snacks, and he was in charge. I mean, he was independent, and I didn't know what he was eating, and I didn't know who prepared it. I mean, OMG, right? For a food allergy parent. But you get to that point, and he's not a food allergy kid. He's not labeled as a food allergy kid. He doesn't sit at a special table. He doesn't have the 504 plan. He goes to a public school. He participates. He's thriving. On the right, baseball is a very big deal in my house. We are big Dodger fans. So for all my Dodger fans out there, this is the Yamamoto bobblehead night a couple of weeks ago. I took Sam, and going to a professional ball game, an MLB game, was out of the question prior to the program because of the peanut shells and that culture of just like throwing peanut shells. Well, now we throw the peanut shells and we eat the peanuts at the game, and we're fortunate we get to go often. We love it. It's our happy place. And Sam participates in sports, and he does shared snack with the team, and he's thriving. He's off to middle school. He just finished elementary school. It's so funny because we graduated the program when he started kindergarten, and now we're done with elementary school and we're going into middle school, and we have worries, but it's not food allergy. It's just worried about having a teenage boy. We don't worry about food allergies at all. It's like, that is just a thing of the past. It's such a blessing. I think that's it for me, right, Isatel? Do I have anything?
Yes, it is. The
Okay.
next one is Michelle. But Michelle, before you start, I just wanted to see if Hillary, if your voice is back on.
Can you hear me?
We can. It's
Okay, good.
perfect. All right.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, so we could go to Michelle.
Okay, so I'm Michelle. My daughter Haley started the program actually when she was 20. She was born with food allergies, but at that time we did not have this option. You can move to the second slide. So people ask if it's in the family. Potentially, I know that you just said it's not in your family. In our family, it actually goes throughout all the generations. It seems to be every other generation that's so severe. So we started with my maternal grandmother, who actually was one of 13. She had diagnosed allergies. My mom with sensitivities. Myself with the worst allergies the doctor at that time said he had ever seen. And then, of course, we had Haley. And Haley had all tree nuts and peanuts, and she's been in remission for 3 years. You can go on to the way that we actually knew about Haley's allergies was first from a kiss. My husband kissed her when he came home from work. He had just eaten nuts, and she got welts all over the side of her face. My youngest one is still in the program. So Haley's in remission from SoCal food allergy, but my younger daughter is actually still in the program, and she's a long hauler. When Haley started kindergarten in 2002, we were the first family who actually had to meet with all the different components of the principal, the yard duty people, the teachers, and explain food allergies and explain touch allergic allergies, etc. And I have never, until she was an adult, allowed anyone else to feed her. So not at preschool, not at kindergarten, not in junior high, etc. You can move on to the next one. Back then, when she was actually in 4th grade, I got a call from her teacher letting me know that she had fed her a donut, guaranteed her that it was a safe donut, then realized that it may have been exposed to nuts, went ahead and gave her double the dose of Benadryl in the classroom, not in the office, and then sent her out to the playground to go hang out with her friends. Then went and called me to apologize and say, I'm not quite sure what to do next. So we've come a long way, which is fabulous, but that's the way it was back then. You can move on if you want to. So when you have older kids, I know this is one of the things that we all talked about, the older they get, the more independent, the more they can self-carry. Obviously, the more that you can educate them, but it's also a lot scarier. And going through junior high and high school with how involved she was, it just continued to get scarier. When travel became part of her life, that was daunting because on planes at that time, still nuts were being served everywhere, including peanuts. You can go ahead and change if you like. One of the things that we did is build an outdoor kitchen. We have all been talking about how do we deal with all of these challenges. Well, I'm allergic to nuts. I have life-threatening allergies still to all tree nuts and peanuts. My younger daughter who's in the program does as well. So when Haley was going to start dosing nuts and peanuts, I could not physically help her do that. I couldn't bake for her. I couldn't dose for her. I couldn't prep for her. So I would go and get all the product. I'd organize it, pay for it, and store it. But I had to do it in a way where it wasn't in our family kitchen because I couldn't contaminate both myself and my other daughter. So when she was coming home back and forth from college and we were prepping her to go back, this is what we ended up doing, is building the outdoor kitchen to keep us safe and her compliant. You can move on if you want to. So fast forward now, it took her 2 years. She was definitely in great shape during treatment. She was so grateful for the freedom of treatment, very compliant. And it's now been 3 years that she's been in remission. I was telling the crew as we discussed this that she actually just got back from Costa Rica. Never, ever would she ever have thought of leaving the country prior to remission. And never, ever would I have been able to sleep a night with her out of country until she was in remission. But she now has finished college, which she did while she was in treatment. She's finished her master's. She's finished every licensing program that she needed, and she is now a school psychologist for LA Unified School District. So the freedom that this program has offered has been worth every moment, every penny, everything that you could ever ask for because of what it has offered to her. And as she says, in her education, in her travels, in her relationships, etc. Well worth it.
All right, and then Hillary's your turn.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hillary Schwartz. My son is Gavin Schwartz. Our journey started in August of 2020. He had just turned 17 and he was about to start his junior year in high school. We launched 6 months later after the onboarding, which was February of 2021. Gavin tested anaphylactic to all tree nuts, and he was peanut sensitive along with other sensitivities. And with him being 17, I felt like we didn't have a lot of time on our side before he was off on his own. So we decided to leap into our fear and jumped on an airplane during a worldwide pandemic. So some of the highlights I would say during our journey, one of them for me at least was that spreadsheet that we received at launch, because I literally could have framed it. All of my answers on one crystal clear piece of paper. I just will never forget that moment. Also just being with him in the room and watching his face while he ate 20 peanuts at his launch, because we were in complete disbelief. All pre-allergists had told us that he was anaphylactic to peanuts. So we avoided it for 11 years. And here he was in front of me eating 20 peanuts at launch. Another highlight I would say was the freedom from cross-contamination, was when I really saw a huge change in him. His overall confidence and overall well-being. He felt healthier, he looked healthier, he was happier. Graduation came in April of 2023. So from launch, that was 2.5 years. And I would say with graduation and remission, some great highlights to share as well. Went straight to Five Guys because that is something he had to have. Breakfast buffets were huge because, as you know, they're on every vacation, and bakeries he was finally able to eat at. But I think there's more about this program than just the food freedom, which I think there's a lot of beauty into having other things for us at least, his oral allergy syndrome is gone. He could eat fruits and vegetables now without itching or any reaction. His asthma feels under control. He has traveled extensively overseas on his own for an entire summer. Going overseas with him now, he can eat at all the breakfast buffets. In general, he's more comfortable socially with his family, with his friends. He feels included. So for us, it's more than just the food freedom. The journey, I think, taught him a lot about just perseverance, commitment, accomplishment. And I see that now as he's getting older. And I feel like it was the beginning for him of that. I always tell people, for us, his experience was literally the quote of life is like a box of chocolates, because what started out with a See's candy box that landed us in the ER ended with a See's candy enjoyment after graduation at LAX. So that is, in a nutshell, no pun intended, our journey. Amen.
We do have some images for you guys. And was that the COVID?
That was during COVID, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. No, nobody was at the airport. Nobody was in an Uber line. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yes. That was all of the top right photo is what I'm doing. Probably that was his freshman year of college preparation. So I prepare, basically by the semester, or try to do like a good 3-4 months, and send it off in a box via FedEx. And the bottom left picture is frozen buckwheat. I used to cook it and then keep it in the freezer and then just take it out and put it in a microwave. And the tray above is his mixed flours with applesauce and pear sauce. And so I did the recommended foods mixed in with some of the flours. He barely tasted it. And then some of the nuts that he would eat separately. But mostly all of his maintenance food was all put into a muffin that he ate for many years.
We're Remission.
Yep. And we got to meet Dr. Rendaro, which was really amazing. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for sharing your stories. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did, especially the outdoor kitchen. That's insane to me. But do you all have any questions? Now I want to open it up for open Q&As. Feel free to ask questions to any of them, or you can also put it in the chat and then we will read it out for you.
Should we just talk?
Yeah, feel free to.
I don't want to interrupt anyone. Hi, everyone. That was great to hear. We are actually launching in about 2 weeks, and I'll have 2 high school boys in the program, and we live in New Jersey. So it sounds like maybe Hillary sounded like she was flying, and sounds like maybe Michelle and Hillary probably are the most relatable to our situation. I wanted to get a sense from you guys in terms of how you managed when your kids went off to college. It sounds like you did a lot of prep work beforehand, but was it a challenge? Did you find that your kids were sticking with the program while they were away? And how did you feel comfortable knowing that they were adhering to it?
For us, Gavin had graduated the program April of 2023 and then went off to college he was almost done with the program by the time he was a freshman in college, so it was more manageable. But I did a lot of FaceTime. I did a lot of check-ins. And when I would visit him, which wasn't very often, but at least quarterly, I'd open those drawers. I would sort of take note, make sure. We did a lot of FaceTime, and I tried to make it fun, just dosing with mom and just checking in on him. And, Gab, you got to show me the bags. I need to see where you're at with your dates. I need you to show me that bottle of Slit. I mean, it was, I had to helicopter quite a bit, but he knew that I was going to, so he was okay. He didn't love it, but he was okay with it. I think we had a big talk before that I'm also in the program. I'm with you in the program. I think, you know, there are some kids that are more diligent. I think I find that I hear that a lot with girls, taking more control over it. But at least with my son, I had to really stay on top of it. I prep the food and either bring it to him when I visit or I would mail it to him. But I think for me and for him, high school was far more challenging than college because he was really at the tail end of the program by the time he got to college.
Okay.
So the travel during high school was absolutely the most challenging.
Because pulling him out of school, you mean?
Pulling him out of school.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was even missing one day of school. The kid was, you know, in 4 AP classes, varsity lacrosse, varsity soccer, college essays, ACT, junior year. I mean, I can't even, I could go on and on, right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
So
But Hillary, you did it, right?
I
Like
did it.
you did
I
it. You
did
made
it.
this the priority.
He
And there's
pushed,
so many
he pushed
parents,
through. Yeah.
there's so many parents who are like, oh, but we have a swim meet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but this is going to change the course of your child's life, like forever.
Yes.
So like you made it the priority.
That's right.
It's awesome.
Do you want me to comment on that as well?
I would love to hear it.
So my youngest daughter started when she was 16. So she was a junior in high school. She was so grateful to finally found a person who could give her answers that we hadn't heard prior, and a program that was making a difference for her, that she does exactly what she is told because she's so self-motivated to feel better. My oldest one was a sophomore already in college. So we really had to sit down and have a coming to Jesus moment about, I'm willing to do all of this for you if you're willing to do exactly what you need to do to be successful. And I know that has to be much harder with younger children because they can't potentially voice that or be in a position to do a complete buy-in. Then you have to get more creative, of course, which I understand is also challenging. But my whole goal in this was to show what could be if everything was done. And our biggest regret is that we didn't have this sooner. We didn't have this earlier. I mean, to go through, we missed 6th grade camp with both kids. We've missed so many different events and travels because it wasn't safe. And then of course you get to junior high and that's exponentially more challenging. And then you get to high school and that's so much more, you know, emotionally challenging with their group of friends, etc. So all I can say is that our biggest regret is we didn't start earlier. And if you're able to have a buy-in with your children at whatever age they're in, whatever their goals are and why they're doing it, I think it just makes such a big difference because I think every one of us as parents have some support and maybe family members, friends, relationships that completely don't get it. I mean, to this day, have no clue what allergies and asthma and all of these other things are, or how, you know, much we have to do to get through this because it's a silent, invisible illness. So I just think the best buy-in you can get from your kids, talking about what result will come next, is going to be your biggest success.
I got a question from Catherine. She says, as a parent, how has your mental health changed with Remission? My anxiety with my son is really high. We're 9 visits in and 20 left to Remission.
So
I just want to clarify, is that the child's anxiety or the parent or both?
I think she said
No, it's my anxiety because we don't have a lot of support from family and friends. They cannot grasp the complexity of the food allergies, and therefore we've become fairly isolated. We can't trust him with his own grandparents. They have caused him multiple reactions. And so because around us, we don't have people who want to help ease our lives, it's like this ego push and pull of, really, it can't be that bad, even though they've seen us have to epi him due to their, it's just like, I can't, my brain can't comprehend the irresponsibility, especially with the grandparents that we're constantly up against. So we've had to isolate my son. So I'm just kind of like
How old is your
hoping to
son?
hear. He's 5 now. He just turned 5. We got in the program when he was 3, and his allergy set in when he was 2 months old. And I'm just hoping that at some point my husband and I can stop being helicopter. At what point does the kind of sort of the relief come? Is it right after remission? Is it as you get closer?
You got to start working on it now. I mean, I hate to say it, but you need to start looking at, so I had tremendous anxiety, tremendous. Similar, my parents and my in-laws did not give my child a reaction, but we had some situations where I'm like, OMG, this is so dangerous. Like, what are you doing? Like, we definitely had to get everybody on board. And there was definitely bumps along the road in that. And preschool was tough. I had to find a very specific school, whatnot. But I'm going to be very honest with the 33 people on this call, is that I took myself to therapy because I realized so much of this was me. And my toddler wants control. That is a psychological thing. The toddler wants to feel in control. So what can I do for me? So it's not like a mirror, because the child also mirrors the parent, to relax the kid, to get the kid to eat the food, while at the same time, how can I get relief? So how can I make my son feel like he's in control? How can I give him some control? And what do I need to do for me to start to alleviate the anxiety? And it took a while, and I committed to it. And I did build a support system around me, and I had to put up barriers for the people who were not going to buy in, and it worked. It worked. It was not easy. There is no quick fix to this. People are either going to get it or they're not. But you getting worked up, I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm saying me getting worked up and spinning was only making my son spin more. So you have to protect your child and keep your child safe. That's the child's safety is the number one thing. But as the parent, what I learned from all the work I did on myself and the systems then that my therapist helped me put into place to work the program with my son is how we ultimately achieved success. So here's an example of a way I relinquished control to my son, because he refused to eat the dosings. You have to eat this. You have to eat this. Oh my God, if you don't eat this, well, someone does that to you. I don't want to eat it. At 44 years old, someone's like, you have to eat this. You have to eat this. Like, I don't want to eat it. So it's like, it's like, so looking at that. So this is a long-winded answer to your question, is, I said to him, Mom and Dad work. We work every day, and we have jobs, and this is your job. Your job is the food allergy program. Oh, so we had one day a FedEx arrived addressed to my kid, and in it was a binder from the Food Allergy Institute. I mean, this was all pretend. And he opened the binder, and the binder was really cool. Like, we were really into Paw Patrol at the time, the Star Wars. So it was really tricked out, characters that he liked. And inside the binder was the chart. And on one side had the photo of all the foods he was in treatment with. And on top, there were days of the week. And then there were Paw Patrol stickers and Star Wars stickers. And I said to him, every time you eat, it's your job now to go and put a sticker on it. And you pick whatever sticker you want, and you put it on it. And then at the next appointment, I had the doctor sign off on it, like a job. The boss signed off on it. And that went on for a long time. And then I had the grandparents and the friends all, do you want to show Grandma and Grandpa your work for your job? And that everyone started to get into it. And I put pictures, in it too, of like the appointments and everything to show the accomplishments, of his job. And like, so that's an example of a system that I had to put in place. So then it was on them, meaning the Food Allergy Institute, fictitiously. It wasn't me saying you have to eat this. It wasn't, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm kind of
yeah.
But you have to get creative. You have to figure it out. You know, that worked for a long time. And then we had to figure out the next system to keep going. But it's hard. I know the anxiety. I mean, crying on the bathroom floor, me, not my kid. I get it. I get it. It's really hard. It's really, really, really
I have to say my hat goes off to every single parent who has committed to this program. And I think I was joking, of course, today when I said, and when are we going to have wine after this? Because the truth of the matter is there is no child who's part of this program without parental support or without caregiver support. And you have to take care of yourself during this. And part of what I learned was setting boundaries was every single thing that had to be done for the safety of my child and my family. And if people could get on board with us, then they were welcome here anytime. And if they couldn't get on board with us, if they just couldn't quite wrap their head around it, then we'd see them in a safe setting. But we stopped exposing ourselves, like you're talking about, to events where nuts were served on the tables and somebody couldn't put them away for 2 hours, or to events that were hosted by school where they could not keep my child safe. And that's why 6th grade camp was, my oldest daughter was devastated that she couldn't go. But you know what they told me? They told me there was an ambulance 30 minutes away and the hospital was an hour away. And there were nuts at that time still served as part of their food. And so I said, there's no way I'm not going to chance, my child's safety. And I think that that's what you have to do is, first of all, give yourself permission to be proud of what you're doing, know that you're doing it for the right reasons, gather whatever support you can get. And when you can't get enough of it, then do something else for yourself and your child that gives you guys joy and allows you to make it work for yourself. Because even if it's only a 2-year program, 2 years is a long time. And I can honestly say that when we started this program, it was my own husband who said, I'm not paying that much money for that when it's not even FDA approved and you can't even show me statistics, because this was at this time 8 years ago. And so I said, I'm sorry. I met him. I have complete faith. I am doing this. We will find a way, and I'm going to do what I know is right, and we'll figure out the details along the way.
Thank you. And then we have another.
No, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I feel
Oh.
like the weight was lifted when Gavin passed cross-contamination. And when I saw everything working in the program about halfway through, my anxiety went way down, if that helps.
And then we have another question from Alexandria. She said, would love to hear any tips on encouraging compliance with a toddler. My 3-year-old son launches in just a couple of weeks.
Well, congratulations and good luck. I'll take this because I have the toddler. I had the toddler. Well, I told you about the coming up with systems to make the child feel like they're in control. To me, that was a big revelation when I realized it was so much of it was giving my toddler the feeling that he had some kind of control over the situation, but also figuring out what was it going to take to get him to eat the foods at a certain amount of time. And there was a period of time that we put his nuts in frosting, and he had frosting for breakfast with pine nut, because that's what it took to get down the hatch, instead of having a fight with my child and have us screaming and hysterical. And again, I wind up crying on the bathroom floor. If to make everyone happy, he eats Duncan Hines frosting with his nuts, so be it. And I remember I had those people, the haters, if you will, to Catherine's point, being like, you're giving your kid frosting for breakfast and he's going to wind up with blah, 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 blah. He didn't. He does not eat frosting for breakfast. This did not turn into a thing. Guess what? We passed the challenge and we moved on to the next issue. So I think it's finding what it takes for your kid to have it go down. It's like now, I mean, Sam, my child, Sam, doesn't like walnuts, and he has to eat walnuts in Remission every other week. He has to eat walnuts, and he still whines about it. I'm like, dude, we've been through this now how many years? But he eats them at breakfast with a bagel. Like, we're still there. He's like, okay, well, what do I like for breakfast? I like a bagel. I'm gonna hide it in my bagel. Like, he does that now. So you know, just finding what that thing is to pair it with. If you can hide it, if you can sneak it in. I was very big on not giving my kid food rewards. That was like, I just didn't want to keep going down this path of food. So another thing was, at the time, the Lego Batman movie was out. He was like obsessed with the advertising. So like a reward was, let's go drive down Ventura Boulevard and you can see the billboard. That's an easy free reward. I just popped the kid in the car and all he wanted to do was look at the picture. So like for a toddler, a reward can be so basic. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to buy you the latest Lego set. It doesn't have to be that. So it was also coming up with things like that. And some of those ideas I got from the head of our preschool, because that was another thing. Like everybody in the preschool got on board with the program too. Like I told everybody about it. I was just like, this is what we're doing. This is who we are. And people would come up with ideas. I'm like, I need reward ideas that are non-food and non-financial. And that was actually an idea from the preschool director. She's like, he loves the Lego movie. Go drive down Ventura. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. So that, like, we rode that wave for a while. I don't know if that answers your question. I hope. We could talk more offline if you want to. I'm happy to tell you more.
And then the next question is by Ashlyn Wizard. I hope I said that correctly. She says, I'm launching my 5-year-old in about 3 weeks. What tips do you have for getting young children through the program? We're seasoned travelers, but curious what everybody else does, what everyone does with plane trips and allergens.
Do you want to, Hillary, do you want to take that? Our plane?
I didn't really have that with young kids. So,
I mean, I guess I can say, so my family's on the East Coast, so we traveled a lot. I mean, I just like, just how Hillary showed that she would pack everything to go off. I mean, you know, to college, I pre-packed everything and carried it in my carry-on. Like there was no way I was going to check it. You know, like all his medicines and everything close to the chest. And I traveled with a letter, there was some kind of template letter that the Institute gave me in case I was stopped for whatever reason. And we would just dose on the road. We would just do it on the road. I remember being at my in-laws house and my toddler was giving me a really hard time. And you know what? We had a 3-hour breakfast and my other son and the rest of my in-laws all went out and we missed the morning activity because Sam refused to eat. And again, that's another boundary. I'm like, well, if you don't want to eat, we're not going to go do the morning activity. I mean, maybe he didn't want to do the morning activity with my in-laws, but like, you know, but that's, again, the program comes first. You know, it is. And that my in-laws understood because at that time we had been in for months. They saw the binder, they saw what we were going through, you know, and it was actually a good thing to have everyone leave because it was a lesson. It was a lesson, the 3-hour breakfast. It went right into lunch. I remember they came back and then we all went out to lunch. It was crazy, but you do it. Yeah. You bring it, you bring the food with you. You know, I mean, before COVID too, we would wipe the plane seats down, the seat covers, we had all of that. But that was also another relief now thinking about it when he was cleared for peanut dust, like he could touch the nuts and not have a reaction and we could travel without that. That was huge. That was a huge moment for us. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I mean, the other thing is when you're traveling to California, you're really not bringing a whole lot of the foods because you're supposed to be off of them. So it is a lot less. You're supposed to be off of them the day that you're dosing and then sometimes, you know, and then the next day. So maybe you're bringing a few doses and you don't know what your future is going to look like after that appointment. So you may not have that on you until the next day that you go home, you get settled, you reshop, you know, so anyway, but traveling in general, like vacation, I put, you know, everything into a refrigerated container as best as I could. And then I transferred it. I always had to make sure there was a hotel fridge, and just transferred it all into the hotel fridge. Now I will say slit is difficult to travel with. But I figured out a way to package it up. That's a little insane, but it doesn't spill the way I packaged it up. And I'm happy to share that with anyone. But that to me was more difficult than food is to travel with.
How do you get split not to spill?
Okay, you ready? So you take the cap off, you put saran wrap over the bottle, you put the cap back on that came with it, not the pump. And then I put that into a light bulb box where you have one light bulb with tissue paper. And then I blue taped the box into the refrigerator so the box wouldn't move and the slit could not fall down.
That is really impressive.
Totally nuts. Yeah. But once you spill that, you'll understand. That was like, that's a $200 spill.
I have traveled with slit. I never had a spill. I didn't never package it. I never even thought to do that. And that is incredible.
Did everyone on the call, did all of your children have to use slit?
Yeah.
Mine did.
You're just
Been
did?
off of it for years. It goes away. That was another big moment when we stopped the slit after the a year or two after the program. Yeah, it goes away. But yeah.
I need some advice. So we launched, like I said, in mid-July, and then our timing isn't great because a few days after we launch, we actually go on a family trip to Europe. Would you guys dose and follow the program or wait until you get back?
I'd wait.
You'd wait.
I'd go.
I'd go too. I'd go.
I don't mean don't go on the program.
So we're going on the
mean,
trip.
No, meaning I would dose. I would just
Okay.
go, meaning start the program, don't wait. Because
Me
I
too.
think in the beginning is the easiest.
I agree.
The middle is the hardest. And
Yeah,
it's also
Because in the
depends on the
beginning,
food.
it's probably, you're not dealing with the maintenance foods and all that. You're just doing a gummy.
It's easy.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's
But-
true. See, we never were able to just do a gummy, so I forget about that. So I apologize. So if it was only transporting gummies, then I agree. That's easy breezy. I was thinking of the prep and the grinding and the dose and the hiding and the refrigerating.
But
And
I shouldn't have anxiety of being in another country while
No.
dosing. You think I should? be
because
okay?
they are going to make sure that you go home with a very safe dosing.
Okay.
You dose more in the office
Yeah.
than you do at home.
Right.
And then you
Okay.
go and do your challenge, which is more than what you've ever done.
Okay.
You will never go home and do something scary.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I can't answer, and maybe you can answer, Leslie, is like if there's a milk and things like that. Like I remember soy milk, like it's not easy to travel. If you're in Sri Lanka trying to find a refrigerator for your soy milk, there are things that are challenging, but it's usually not in the beginning. I don't think with dairy. I don't know that though.
I would also bring it up.
Sorry, go
Mhm.
on.
I was gonna say, I would also bring it up during your launch appointment, because then they may be able to work something out with you, so that it's easier and safer too.
Yeah,
Leslie, I
there's
think you
also-
were gonna say something. Mhm.
Yeah. There's also, this is Maya, there's also powder, and we also, I think for some people, I think they're starting to make like a milk gummy. So the best thing, what Isaiah just said, is ask the provider. They should have those answers.
Yeah, we didn't have gummies either when we did it.
Right.
Oh, I would love a gummy.
Makes life easier.
Awesome.
Mhm. Then I have a question from Jill. She says, we are 2 out of 10 visits. Peanuts only, and my anxiety after hearing all the reactions people have had during remission on social media makes me worry. Do you think they are just not completely compliant?
I'll address that really quickly just because I have to say that my girls have done what they were supposed to do. Part of it was the buy-in initially. Part of it was just because I was very clear about my expectations. And part of it's just because they wanted the freedom at the end of it. But I have heard all the stories because now we've been part of the program for 8 years. I have no doubt that there are some challenges and that people do have issues because my younger daughter has had a lot of reactions in the program at different stages. And it wasn't because she wasn't compliant. It's because maybe her body wasn't quite ready at that time. So one of the things that I will say is that if you are having an issue, be an advocate for yourself and your child. Go to the source and let them know if you're having a problem. Don't just let things go and kind of have blind faith that it might get better. I think it's really important as a parent, whether it's about TIP or it's about school, whatever it may be, that you advocate for yourself and for your child, because we've had bumps in the road, not with my daughter who's in remission. She never had any bumps in the road. She was like start to finish 2 years, just as planned. She's had no reaction since. It's been 3 years. She eats nuts all the time. She eats peanuts all the time. She's very aware. But my youngest one, who's as compliant as you could be, has had some bumps in the road because her system is very sensitive and she has multiple different things she deals with. When we would hit a roadblock, we'd stop what we were doing, trust our gut, and go get help. And I just think it's really important that you know that you have the power to do that, because just because you have a specialist doesn't mean that they know your child or your life or your family better than you do.
And also, just because they're having issues with peanut, it doesn't mean you're going to. And I have a friend who can't read those things because it brings on anxiety that she doesn't need and doesn't really have. And by reading it, it gives her anxiety, which then gives her child anxiety. So if it's something that you feel is making you anxious, then my suggestion would be to just really skim through things and not read everyone's, reactions.
Yeah. Yeah. You sound like one of the things early on I had to do was stop reading everyone's comments, stop going to the groups. It was just like,
Too much.
It's just like, just stop. It's like when you think you have something's wrong with you and you go on WebMD and it's always like the worst thing ever. Like, and it's not. It's like you have a common cold. So just like stop. I will tell you, I know so many people who've been through the program from all over the country, and none of them they're in remission, and no, I don't know anyone who's had a problem. No one. They're also very compliant too.
Can I ask a follow-up about like what you mean specifically? And thank you all so much, by the way. What you mean specifically about like the reactions were happening, or like trust your gut, like what kind of things are you referring to specifically?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, or whoever, yeah.
My youngest daughter, she also has asthma and she also has eczema. And so she's not the one who's in remission. But because she's more complicated, she has to go very slowly. And there were times when the recommendations were sort of like the standard boxed recommendations that are working for most people. But she's in that 4% that doesn't match the exact, dosing and program for SoCal food allergy. And so what we've had to do is when she says, I don't feel like this is working, or I'm starting to have some background concerns because maybe even like she had a migraine or something was coming on that just didn't feel right for her, I always trusted her because I heard what she said. And although the provider may have said, this is your next dose, sometimes she would have to go slower and she'd have to take another week at that dose, or she'd have to cut the next step in half. And we were so blessed because when we started, this program was not so big and so busy and there were not so many people. We actually met with Dr. R. And that gave me incredible faith because he does this not just because he knows how, but because he truly believes in what he's doing. He was so different than everyone else we saw, both with my life as an allergic person, my older daughter's life as an allergic person, and then we had seen so many people with my younger daughter. And she was always sort of written off because she was such a great student. She looked terrific. She was within range of height and weight. I mean, it was ridiculous. And she was having trouble breathing going up the stairs because her asthma was so out of control. And when we sat with him and listened to him, we left and she was like, wow, that was so enlightening. He knew exactly what I meant. I mean, he knew to the teeny, feeling of what she was describing, what she was speaking about. And so when we would hit a roadblock, I would email and say, I think we have a bit of a challenge. We may need to slow down, or do you mind if we cut? Or can we take an extra week? And you know what? That's worked for us. Now, are we going through so quickly? No, but I don't care. And she and I have talked about this the whole time. Do you need an end date for remission? Or are we just grateful that you are like a completely different person than when we started? And the decision that we have made is that the results are so extraordinary, and she is a different person, that we really don't care how long it takes, because we're getting to where we need to be. Whereas my older daughter, like I said, start to finish, 2 years, awesome. Remission has been perfect for 3 years. So we've really seen both sides of the program.
That's so helpful. Thank you.
Of course.
And then we have another question from Alicia. She says, we have been in the program for 4 years and 2 months. Our son is 13 and he is finally up to 23 peanuts. He absolutely hates peanuts. Did any of your children hate the taste? He is compliant and follows directions, but really dislikes the taste of peanuts.
I had that in the beginning. My son hated the peanuts. Oh, he hated it. And now he loves it. It's so funny. Because the palates change, right? As you know, as they change and get older. Again, it was hiding it in food, and it was such a strong peanut is such a strong taste. But it was pairing it again with something that he liked is what ultimately got it for us. It was chocolate, you know, getting like a great high quality piece of chocolate, you know, that my son loved. He was a little younger, so if there was like a chocolate with a character on it that he liked, like Mickey chocolate or whatever, you know, that helped. It sounds like your son's older, so it wouldn't really fly.
Yeah, he figures out when we've tried to I mean, there's no hiding from someone who's almost 14. Like it's just, we had talked up the Reese's so much. My whole family loves Reese's. And so of course, the first time he was like, I'm going to throw up, not because my stomach, but that was the worst taste. And he's like, you all lied to me. And we were like, no.
Yeah.
I wondered, because once they're in remission, they have to eat. I'm sorry if I lost connection, had to come back. They have to eat like 80 peanuts a month, or I'm sorry, could you tell me what that part entails?
For us, it was 60 once a week, and then it went down to every other week. And I'm told next year it's going to be it for us. It's looking like it'll be every 3 weeks. He eats peanut butter every morning now. And if you told me when we graduated that he would do that, I would be like, you're kidding me. Cause just like, he was like, ah! You know, he hated it too. Another thing, if he's like, for us, like Sam, the big thing, even as a toddler, he knew he was not allowed to participate in birthday parties, and like peer pressure, even at age 5 was a big deal. So I can't even imagine at 14, but I'm like, dude, if you do this, you can eat the cake.
Oh, he know exactly. Like, he's so excited. We've been, like I said, we've been in the program 4 years. So this has been a long haul, and we're just now to 23 peanuts. Like, he's got obviously a pretty severe case for peanut, but I mean, he knows, like, even today I took his other siblings to ice cream, and he said, Mom, he's like, look, we didn't have to worry about what else was in this building. Like, he knows the value. He just literally hates the taste and he does it, but I know, like, geez.
Okay.
Well, fun fact, being an allergic person myself, is that when you are allergic to something, and I don't know how many of you caregivers or parents are also allergic, but when you are allergic, your body tells you that you hate the smell, you may hate the taste, you may even feel sick going into the room. And that's very true. I mean, I can walk into an event for work or a party that's social, and I can smell nuts in the room, like even in a huge facility, so that I can start to suss out where they're sitting and be really cautious. And my younger daughter is allergic to some things like asparagus. I mean, some really different items, and she always hated them before we even knew that she was allergic. And I really think it's our bodies and our brains trying to protect us.
Yeah, it's true. He has asparagus and other stuff, and you're right. He like sniffs it out. So I just wondered if that was common, but since you have an allergy, maybe that answers my question.
But Alicia, it would be so interesting in a couple years if he likes it, like Sam. Like, as the numbers go down.
Yeah.
Right? Because his numbers are way down. So like, I wonder if.
Yeah.
Would that be interesting?
I'll let you know.
Yeah, keep us posted.
And then our next question is from Jessica. She says, do your kids still carry their EpiPens everywhere they go? We are told our child will need to do that for the rest of their life, even after remission, but that sounds discouraging in a way. Like it won't feel like remission to her. But she says, of course, if it's needed, she will definitely do it.
My son does not, I'll be honest, but he does when he travels. Funny enough, recently he was in Mexico with his fraternity and he brought his EpiPens, and some other kid who didn't bring their EpiPens went into anaphylactic shock. And my son had his EpiPens and saved his life. So that was an interesting story. But no, he does not. I wish he would, but he is going to be 21 and he, I can only do so much at this point.
My daughter does. I know it's still annoying to her. It's a huge topic because she would like not to, of course. But I've just asked her to do it out of pure respect for me and this process, and have said to her, if you don't do it for yourself, do it because somebody else may need it, as you said, or because you're with me or because you're with your younger sister. I just don't see how it can be a negative, but also probably that's still because I've spent my entire life being allergic and looking out for both kids who are allergic. So I just feel like you can't go wrong by having it. I do think the EpiPen, unfortunately, is a real issue once they get older. It's big, it's burdensome, it's scary. We now carry AviQ. There's all these deals that you can get. I'm sure you guys know, which you can get them for all these different deals. If you go direct, if you go through Walgreens, if you go through like a mail order, they're much smaller. They're much easier for junior high and high school and college students. So that's something to look into if you haven't as of yet.
We don't carry one. I feel so bad admitting that. We don't, and we don't even have one at school. He doesn't have a 504 plan. I mean, he eats all the food all the time. We have one in the house because we get the prescription. I'm like, let's fill it. And we fill it and we keep it in the house in case a friend comes over and needs it. Like, it's crazy. And I was like crazy EpiPen woman before this, and Benadryl, and would yell at my husband if, God forbid, he took a foot outside the house with an EpiPen. Like I was that person. And we don't. I feel so horrible saying it, but we don't. We've never had a
Clinic definitely would still tell you to carry the EpiPen, but it's not a cure, but your tolerance is just so low, you probably won't need it. I mean, as you guys like share, like all three of you, I think you've shared with me before, you guys haven't had any reactions, and that's so like comforting for me to hear as someone with allergies. But clinic will always tell you to carry your EpiPens.
Yes, of course.
Because you may not need it, but of course, like Hillary's son, like being able to save somebody else's life just because you're carrying it is pretty amazing. And I feel like that's probably very rewarding for him to be able to give that to somebody else. That's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. All right. And then somebody did ask, is carrying an EpiPen required in remission? And it is. I did want to answer a question that somebody sent in by email before we hop off the call because it's 4 o'clock. But she wanted to know what are some challenges you faced along the way and how did you overcome them?
I think social was something that was brought up, and I think it's really important to recognize that any invisible illness, and granted, this is certainly one of them, that is huge, is going to challenge you because other people may not understand. So it challenges the person, it challenges the patient, it challenges the family, it challenges every, relationship. And since I had older daughters starting, high school and college, talk about dating. There's something that is a long conversation that we had over and over again. It just is hard socially and emotionally, I think, for anybody who has an invisible illness. And I think that you do have to find your people, as was referred to earlier, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, people at the school who you truly can trust. But I also think, again, trusting your gut was something that I just continued to instill in my girls, not just about treatment, but about everything. If something seems wrong, trust your gut. And so I think, you know, you have to find your people, you have to find your circle. Now that there's so many people in treatment and in remission, I think it's a really good way that we can all support each other, whether it's like this, office hours, whether it's through recipes, whether it's through, you know, social media, private messages, whatever it may be, but that there's this huge community out there, and now we all know about it. Whereas before, like when we started, nobody had ever even heard of Dr. Randhawa before. So this is really nice that you guys are finding ways to connect everyone.
I think for us, the challenges were, as I mentioned before, I think just even missing one day of school created a lot of stress. So I would say for kids entering the program in high school to partner with your school and make sure they understand everything about the program. And if you can try to extend the program so that you're traveling when there's holidays or when they have school off. So as soon as you get that calendar for school, you know, start thinking about your visits. The other thing I remember being for him was hard was just the monotony of eating the same thing every day. And that's got to be, you know, for anyone, that's got to make you nauseous. So, you know, there were moments where you really got to get your cooking on and reinvent the wheel in the kitchen and be patient with it and understand that it's not easy. And then the other thing is, I think I found challenging, but tried my best, is when he would have an upset stomach. Of course, I would always think it was due to the program, but there are, you know, we forget there's upset stomachs, there's random illnesses and fevers and all these things. And I think it's also around COVID. So it was a little bit more stressful for me, but every single time it was gastritis or it was like something that he ate, it had nothing to do with what he was eating. And I think you just have to be very careful with your facial expressions and showing that you're worried or anything like that, because that can trigger anxiety for him, which can actually create a reaction.
It's that mirror. They look at you.
Yes, for sure. Summer after senior year, that was definitely challenging. I'm chasing him with containers of nuts while he's on the go to go see his friends. So that was hard, because summer after senior year of high school, you know, they're off to college and that's like the summer of freedom. But he was still very much in the program. And then freshman year of college was challenging, just micromanaging him still with his dosing and occasional FaceTime until he finally graduated. Then it felt like a huge relief. And I don't have to do so much. You know, my propeller has come off quite a bit.
You know, speaking of health is a big deal in this program, not just mental health, but physical health. Since I had two young ladies, when everyone kept telling them, you can put it in chocolate, they'd be like, I can't put that in chocolate. I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to have acne. And there was really a big concern about how to do consistent maintenance and dosing and still stay very true to their diet that they wanted to go on, and that they wanted to maintain for their own just physical happiness. And so I think that that's where we also become researchers and creative people, is both of my girls are incredible chefs. And I am so proud that they took a lot of these challenges and helped me to think of ways to incorporate these foods more creatively. And that's something that I know all of us really have to commit to, is a lot of cooking and a lot of prepping. But I think it also opens all of our doors to what kind of foods are out there and how we can do it. And long term, it really benefits all of us because we eat a lot better than a lot of other people do. And we don't eat out a lot, hardly at all. And so because of that, we also learn how to cook, which is something that has benefited them in a lot of different ways long term.
I just want to add too, before we run out of time, early on in the program when Sam was 3, and it was such a shock to our system to do this, like, because you're told like avoid, and then suddenly he's eating a pine nut, like it's like crazy, right? And then me trying to control my anxiety and my son's anxiety, all of that, and then working on myself. But I also, and I said, I hope I don't step on toes here at all.
Go.
I remember early on saying, like, I'm really big in mentorship. I'm like, I need a mentor. I need a mom. Like, can you find me? I know with HIPAA and blah, blah, blah. Like, can you find me somebody in the program who's a couple months ahead of me, who also has a peanut kid, who I can just like call and get advice? Not like every day I'm stalking this person, but like just to have a call and be like, this is crazy, because no one else understands what I'm going through. Because you don't, because it is isolating. It is. I mean, food allergy is isolating. And the program can be too if you don't have a homie to call. So I'm like, I need a homie. And he gave me one, and she helped me. And we talked like on and off in the beginning. And then suddenly I didn't need her anymore. Like the wheels came off, right? Like the training wheels came off. And it gets better. And I can't begin to tell you how night and day life is once you go into remission. Like, it's weird. I remember when we graduated, they were like, see you in a year. And I was like, huh? Like, I was just like, what now? Like, I'm so used to like always dosing and updosing and the packaging and the blah, 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 blah. Like, there's none of that. And it's so freeing. Like I said, I have a preteen now, and like, I don't think about food allergies at all. How amazing is that? So it becomes, and they would say to me like, oh, Sam's not going to remember this. Like, he's going to remember this. And guess what? He doesn't remember it, like it's, how crazy is that? It's, if you stick with it, it's going to happen for you too. It is. It's going to, because I know so many people it's happened for. It's going to happen to you too. So and I wanted to quit early on. I'll admit it. Like, I not wanted to. I was like, is this wrong? Am I putting so much pressure on my child, on my house, on, in my household, whatever? And no, just do it. Just don't quit. Don't quit. Please don't quit.
We are now at 4:08, but there's so many questions in the chat. Like, there's one about dating. They're really interesting. If you guys don't mind, I can take these questions down and send them to the volunteers, and they can respond by email, and I can send it back over to everybody in the chat. So everybody will get to see their answers. I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. Do you guys have any closing statements to share?
I'll say one thing about dating because we've been through this now for years. Both of my girls have definitely found people in their lives who are so supportive. And I can't say that they necessarily totally understood. I can't even say that they got it 100% even after 2 years. But what I can say is that, again, the advocacy comes into play here. And when you raise your children to care for themselves and to advocate for themselves, I think that then, their values are clear, whether it's because they have to be kept safe, because they want to be respected, because they want a partner who's really going to support them. And so that's all that we just kept saying is like, if you find the right person in your life, that's a person who will support you through this and everything else. That doesn't mean, though, in the background, I wasn't like, and bring extra wipes. And by the way, make sure you tell them in advance, and, because it really is scary in the beginning. So there are some wonderful published articles about dating with food allergies. Food allergy research education also has some nice little, kind of snippets. We found just some great things. Well, like Grown and Flown has an article that I was able to forward to my daughter that she could kind of use for talking points. And so there was all different ways to deal with it, but it's not easy to bring other people into their world, whether it's a teacher, whether it's somebody they're dating, whether it's a roommate. It's the older they get, the more challenging it is. So if you have young kids in the program, good for you, go for it and get it done before they're older and you have to deal with all that as well.
I would say that it's the best gift that you will ever give yourself and your child and your family and even their siblings who are affected by it. It's hard, but it's also a wonderful bonding experience with your child. Gavin and I had a lot of fun going to California together, and it was time that we had alone that we'll never have. So for that, I would say stick with it. Don't quit. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
The light at the end of the tunnel is so very bright. That's what I say to myself. It is so very bright. And it's true. I had all these moments with Sam that I normally we still do. And we were down in Long Beach yesterday and we had like a whole little afternoon together. And it really, I've noticed he's very self-motivated and confident. I attribute a lot of it to the program and me trying to having him feel ownership of it, having it be him. He's very self-motivated, which is neat. It's really neat. He's proud. He's really proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gavin is too. He is very proud. I mean, you know, when he makes fun of it, he's like, "Oh, mom, is that a scenario one?" Like, you know,
it's amazing how fortunate are all of us, how fortunate. I used to before I even knew of the program, I would just, I mean, I'm not very religious, but I would pray. I'm like, there has to be something, and here we all are. How cool, right? Like, it's amazing. Thank you to everybody at Food Allergy Institute. I'm looking at you, Isotope. Thank you.
No, thank you to you guys. You guys are so amazing. You guys are all part of the family. Like, you guys really do make the program for all the other parents too, especially with doing things like office hours. You guys are amazing. So I appreciate you guys hopping on the call and answering all their questions. You guys shared so many gems that I feel like I could relate to, even though I'm not in the program. It's really inspiring to hear from all of you guys. Thank you. And I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys have any more questions, I'll be sending a follow-up email. Please send it and I'll share it with the volunteers as well. And I've also included their emails inside the chat, so feel free to reach out to them personally as well. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.